Good morning. This week we're going to be continuing our study of New York City's immigrants. This week we're going to be learning about the Levine family, a Jewish American family who immigrated to New York City's Lower East Side in the late 1800s. We are going to be reading a short text called Leaving Home. First, we will look at an image to try to visualize what life was like for New York City's immigrants in the Lower East Side in the late 1800s. Following that, we will watch a short video clip to try to gain a better understanding of what the lives of Jewish American immigrants were like, what they did for work, what their lives were like, if their lives were hard, how they made money. As we watch this short video, you're going to try to come up with two details to try to understand what their lives were like. In addition, we're going to be focusing this week on two important academic vocabulary words, the words conditions and the word identity. Two very important words we'll be using to complete a graphic organizer as we dive deep into what these words really mean. Then we will jump into a short text called Leaving Home and answering some discussion questions as we draw connections between the immigration experiences of the Levine family and our own immigrant experiences. As we conclude the lesson, we're going to focus on the identities of the Levine family and how they compare to our own identities. For example, the Levine family had multiple identities. They were Jewish, they were Russian, and they were American as well. Like us, they had many multiple identities. I want you to think about your multiple identities. Now let's begin the lesson. Can somebody please read the essential question? Good. What are the life experiences of immigrants? Let's take a quick look at that. Experiences. What were their lives like? And immigrants, people who came to this country from elsewhere. Can somebody read the first lesson objective? Good. To read closely to determine central ideas and important details. Good. We're going to determine the central idea of the text we read, as well as note important details in the text. Can somebody read the second one, our second lesson objective? Good. To interpret words and phrases as they are used in the text. Good. We're going to be focusing on some new vocabulary words as we read this text. Good. Let's look at this image. This is an image of New York City's Lower East Side in 1898. As you look at the image, I want you to focus on these questions. What do you see? What do you think? What do you wonder? Good. You might say, in the image, I see a lot of people. You might say, in the image, I see many buildings. You might say, I think that it was too crowded. You might say, I think that they were poor. You might say, one thing I wonder is why people are standing in the street. You might say, one thing I wonder is what the people are doing. Now we're going to watch a short video clip called The Lives of Jewish American Immigrants. In this clip, I want you to focus on what the Jewish American immigrants did for work and what made their lives hard or what made it easy. So you can click this link, which will open up a YouTube video. As we watch the video, I want you to focus on two details about the immigrants that you learned from the video.
And so you have people who are cloak makers.
You can play the video now.
Coats, they make undergarments.
Based on the video, what were two details that we learn about the lives of Jewish American immigrants? You could say they worked in factories. You could say their lives were hard. You could say they did not make a lot of money. So in this image, you could see they worked in what was called a sweatshop. And it wasn't called a sweatshop because it was hot, but because the labor was sweated out of them. They were only paid for what they produced. So as you could see in this picture, you could see that their lives were challenging, were difficult, were very hard for them to make money. In this, you can see, this is a short video clip where you could see how they sold the goods they produced. So this was also in their neighborhood in the Lower East Side at the time. And you could see people were selling their goods in the street. This was the market where people could sell what they produced. Now I want to look at two of our academic vocabulary words, the words conditions and the word identity. What do you know about the word conditions? What do you think conditions mean? You could say how things are. You could say the environment. You could say the conditions in the factories were hard. What about identity? What do you think the word identity might mean? You could say who you are. You could say your nationality. You could say the identity of the Levine family was Jewish. You could say my identity is. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to jump into a text called Leaving Home. Okay. You can begin diving into the text now.